Welcome to the Food Border YouTube channel. My name is Kylie and today we're making shortbread. These guys are gluten-free, they're completely vegan, and they're super easy to make. We're basically going to use the same process that you would for the gluten-rich, dairy-dense version, but without any of those things. Okay, so we're going to start with vegan butter. My favorite is the vegan block from Naturally. They're based in Denmark, so they're probably available all around Europe. If you're in the US, I recommend Earth Balance. But we're going to chop that up. We're going to use 165 grams and we're going to chuck that in a bowl. Then to that we're going to add some sugar. I love to use like muscovado sugar. It's minimally processed and it's just my favorite. I love the flavor of it, but if you've just got white castor sugar, you can swap it out. We're going to mix that up using an electric beater. You're going to mix it until it's really light and fluffy and starts to change in color. That's how you're going to get some air into your shortbread biscuits. And then once that's done, you're going to add some vanilla. Use vanilla extract, it's much better quality. We're just going to add 1 teaspoon. To that we're going to add a pinch of salt. I recommend you add salt into every single bake that you do. We're going to add some flour, 250 grams of all-purpose gluten-free flour. I highly recommend that you mix your own, but if you're not able to do that, Bob's Red Mill, King Arthur or Dove's Farm will do. I'm going to briefly mix that with a mixer just until it comes together, and then once the butter and the sugar and the flour have come together, you're going to use your hands or a plastic baking spatula to bring the dough into a bowl. It looks a little bit dry here, but it's really not. It's super moist, it's very buttery, and it will come together very easily. You'll notice that the dough is a little bit more wet. That's usually the case with gluten-free bakes. You usually have a dough that's much wetter than the gluten counterpart. Okay, and then once that's come together, you're just going to set it aside. We're going to get a baking tray. One of my tips for the butter packets that you have is to keep them, and then we're going to use the little bit of grease that's left on the inside of the packet to grease the tray. So you're just going to grease the bottom of the tray, you're going to grease the edges, and then to the bottom of the tray we're going to add a sheet of baking paper. And that little bit of grease on the tray is going to help the baking paper stick to the tray so that you can press the dough really easily into the tray without that paper moving around. And then we're going to press the dough into the tray. So it's going to take a little while and the dough might shred a little bit, or it might be a little bit more difficult to press it into the tray. But just be patient, it will 100% work. It's totally fine. So once you've roughly spread it out with your fingers, you can use a baking spatula that's slightly wet to smooth it out, or you can slightly wet your hands and use your hands to smooth it out. Just make sure that it's sort of like an equal thickness throughout the tray. As another option, instead of placing the dough directly into a tray, you can place the dough between 2 sheets of baking paper and roll it out with a rolling pin, and then cut your shortbread into the shape that you want. So if you want to use a cookie cutter, then you can use a cookie cutter, or you can cut into rectangles. And then I'm going to cut the dough. I'm going to cut it 6 by 4 here. You do this before you bake so that when you bake it, it's really easy to cut. We're going to prick the shortbread with a fork. Make sure you prick it nice and deep, otherwise the dough will bubble up in the oven. And then we're going to place this dough in the fridge for 2 hours or overnight. I like to put gluten-free cookie doughs in the fridge because otherwise they tend to spread out a lot in the oven. And by putting them in the fridge, you're cooling down the dough, solidifying the butter, and you're just preventing that excessive spread. Once the biscuits have had their time in the fridge, we're going to bake them at 160 for 20 minutes. Then you just need to rescore them, so you're going to follow those cut lines, cut them again with a knife. It's going to be really easy because you've already done it once. And then we're going to place that tray onto a cooling rack and let the biscuits cool completely. So you can leave the biscuits at this stage. They're baked, they're delicious, they're ready to eat. But if you want to decorate them, I'll show you how in the next clip. So I'm just going to dip one side of the biscuit into a little bit of melted chocolate. I used 70% green and black dark chocolate, so it's non-dairy. And then I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of toasted hazelnuts onto one side of the biscuit where the chocolate is. Alright, and then with this next one, I'm going to do a slightly different shape with the chocolate. I'm going to do a little triangle in the top corner, and then I'm going to top these ones with some pistachios. And then as another option, I always like to do a little bit of flaky salt. You can also just drizzle chocolate on top. Whatever chocolate you like or whatever nut you like, you can replace. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you want the full recipe, it's on our website, so follow the links below. Like, subscribe, comment if you have any requests, and we'll see you in the next video.